what I heard, but what I know. What I know is that you're loved and lovable. You've been loved and lovable, and you're going to be loved and lovable for the rest of your days. I am here as a coach, mentor, and guide for all of the bold dreamers in the world who want to see their dreams come true in this life, not in the next. And as always, I'm joined by the lovely Moose. Hi, Moose. And Tara Priolo. Introduce yourself to the crowd.
Moose is how old are you? 9-year-old Springer Spaniel. He was birthed in northern Minnesota, and he has lived with me since he was 6 months old. And he's a beautiful dog, but he's also very vocal. He exists to show the world love. That's Moose's intro.
Springer Spaniel.
Springer Spaniel, yes.
Show us again. He's gorgeous.
This is Mustafa.
Hi, Moosey.
Say hello to everybody, Mr.
I love
Moose.
his brown eyes. I really do.
He really has very large, beautiful eyeballs. But he'd also look like an old man because he's getting to be an old man. Anyway, I'm Tara Priolo. I am your resident Black, biracial, multi-passionate musician. Excuse me. I talk about the issue nobody wants to talk about and push you to do the same. And I also help you make the intangible tangible by helping you release the entanglements you've placed upon your voice. And I do that through voice and identity and sometimes mindset work. We'll talk about our offers later, but you can find out more information about me and the things I'm offering at tarapriolo.com/links. And if you stay tuned to my Instagram today, April 22nd, I will be putting up an offers post so y'all can know what's going on for real. And at some point I'll update my website. So if you go to the full website, just know that I know that she hasn't been updated since 2023. Y'all just sit down. Shut up. All right. Now, if you're a person that's like, my website is updated, you don't have to have an updated website, y'all. You don't have to have an updated website. You don't even got to have a website. If you are a person that is decolonizing, deconstructing, have an interesting story, maybe you met a person on the Epstein files, and you want to tell us about it.
Maybe you are the Epstein file.
Maybe you are the island of Epstein.
Maybe you are the actual island. Maybe you're a tree on the island.
Maybe you are. And if you would like to come be an ent on the show and take a long time to say what you need to say, some of you that have seen Lord of the Rings will get the joke there. All right. Which I still, one of my very fun facts about Lord of the Rings, because I own the extended editions. I don't really own them. I stole them from my mother. But I also have a Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit in the closet. So whenever you come to my house, Flowskis, we will be playing that. But there is a Trivial Pursuit in my closet. And one of the questions in there is which actor played both Gimli and Treebeard, the Ent. And I can't remember John Rhys Davies, I think is his name. But anyway, for those of you that didn't know, he also voiced the Ent. He was the dwarf and he was the Ent. Anyway, so if you are John Rhys Davies and someone else, and you want to tell us about your tree, royalty, and kingdom, you can be your name here. Just go to Loved and Lovable. I think it's at lovedandlovable.org, and you can fill out a form and let us know that you would like to be on the podcast with us. We are lightweight looking for a co-host for the month of July because somebody says that there's an eviction notice on this baby. So I gotta survive newborn
There
stage.
will be a major extraction.
Yes, there's an eviction notice on the door. You don't have to. Actually, the baby does have to come home, but you don't gotta come home. You just can't stay in the belly. Okay, no more. So anyway, we are lightweight looking for that. Otherwise, Deconstruction Junction will be on hold until I decide that I would like to talk to you all again. That's the
Yeah,
reality of
you're
it.
going to be beyond preoccupied with those breast or bottle feedings around the clock. You'll go from being an incubator to being someone's food.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the video online of the otter on its back with the baby otter on its chest, and it was floating in the water, and the baby otter was still nursing on it even though it was floating in the water? The otter was like this way up, and then the otter, like while being on its back in the water, like flipped the kid around and like put them on their teat down
Wow.
below. Yeah, it was something interesting.
Wow. No, I didn't see that.
I was like mothers of all backgrounds.
Listen, the foals on Katie Van Slyke's farm. First of all, one of them, okay, its mom Maggie almost done unalived. Okay, Maggie had 2 colic surgeries and then gave birth less than 24 hours after the second colic surgery, and the baby is obviously feeding. So colic surgery, they got to do their tummies, and the baby was feeding there. And anyway, Maggie got an infection. Maggie came very close to unaliving. And so they decided to get a nurse mare, which meant that they brought one of their mares into heat or into milk. And now the foal, whose name is Margot, is Gracie's kid, who's the nurse mare. Fascinating.
How do you can like just provoke milk out of an animal like
There's,
that?
like, they gave her like medicine and stuff and
Oh,
like
I see.
stimulation, and she's had
HRT,
babies in the
hormone
past.
replacement therapy. They just
Yeah, and she had babies in the past, so she like her body knew what to do, I guess. But very interesting. Very interesting story. We lost your audio.
I'm just letting TikTok
Oh,
know in the studio that I'm taking them down so I can have my phone
yes.
during the live, so I can scroll a bit while we work together on this, and then everyone's happy. I got my fidget spinner. I've got my phone. I've got my podcast co-host.
And for those
What?
of you that have ADHD like us, just know that I move around a lot. I go to my kitchen. I'm probably going to clean the floor while we're in here because whatever. So,
Well, it's a metaphor and a model because in the past, I didn't feel it appropriate to have a fidget spinner on the screen or to be on my phone or whatever. I had so many rules about how to exist and coexist in the world. When Tara met me, I was at the end of, but not quite out of, a need to control myself and a need to control other people. And part of the work that we do here in the network within Codependence Anonymous, Emotions Anonymous, and People Pleasing Anonymous is we create a container where people don't need to feel controlled or be controlled by us. Live and let live, girl.
right. And that's why you see in Daily Boost, like particularly for me, like there's times when I've showed up no makeup girl, like late at night, 2-minute baby screaming, because like you I used to talk about this a lot, and I should talk about it more. There's an invitation to myself to talk about it more because we don't shit on ourselves anymore.
There's an invitation.
um,
There's
there's
an
an
invitation.
invitation for me to talk about integration because I really did used to talk about this a lot of like, if you create a personal brand or a business where you are the primary service provider or you're the owner operator, and you try to keep that separate from your life, you will always find stress. Like you will always, because you're always trying to wait for the perfect moment. I got to wait for the baby to go to bed. I got to wait for the dog to shut up. I got to wait for the da da da. And we went through this on Clubhouse, right? Like I would mute up if my dogs went crazy. And I still do that because I don't want to blow y'all's eardrums out. But also, you have to find a way to exist in the moment, together with your life and your business, right? Which is why my child, even though I said before my child was born, I was like, I don't want my child in the lesson room. My child is great in the lesson room, sits and plays with stickers, like, and it's much easier for me, and I'm not distracted because I'm not thinking about what's happening to my child, because my child's in the room with me, right? And so that makes me a better teacher, because then I can focus on the student that's in front of me, because my child is right there, or my child is napping or something. My advice, if you are open to taking it, is to integrate more of your life into your publications, because then it's easier to have consistency. If you fight against the integration and you're waiting for the perfect moment, you will end up skipping days. You'll end up skipping weeks, and weeks become months, and months become years. And that's how we get 20 years down the road, never having started our podcast or never having worked on our social media, etc. So that's just an invitation to y'all for that.
I love that. I love that, because if you're waiting for the right time, the quote unquote right time may never come. And a lot of people resonate in the social media space with people who are simply being themselves. Y'all saw me brush my whole beard on the live. Some of you over on TikTok earlier heard me talking shit to my former boss from the Red Lobster, who was trying to rewrite the past a little bit.
You said he might have been Megan. He never denied it. So, I mean,
That's why he's blocked on Facebook, but he still has access to the throne through TikTok, because TikTok is also going to keep those comments edited. You're not going to come left too much, and we're grateful for it. So, Tara's up first today. We got about an hour less now to cook this
We'll move
wonderful,
fast.
lovable egg. So she's going to start with some updates on Iran.
Yes, and of course, there's other stuff that went on in the world this week that I did not bring to the pod, for reasons. I am trying to give you all like the rundown of what's happening each week and the important things. However, I personally feel like this week in the political sphere, in the like mass shooting sphere, in the unalivement of people sphere, was super heavy. And while this Iran update is not something to laugh at, the way that Donald Trump acts on Truth Social is truly hysterical to me. Like, I know people's lives are in the balance, and like this man is such a freaking mess. And it's all marketing, right? Like, and so like when you even though like I am aware that people are dying, I'm aware that people are being murdered, I'm aware that there are bombs being dropped, I'm aware that there are bad things happening. I think that it is hysterical that literally every other day the Strait of Hormuz is open or closed. Like, so basically what had happened was Donald Trump, this was a couple weeks ago, was like, there's going to be a ceasefire, without ever talking to the Iranians. He just talked to the Pakistanis. And then during that ceasefire, JD Vance went over and failed at peace talks miserably. Like, it was 21 hours and he walked out and nothing happened. And Iran was like, nope, we're not opening the Strait of Hormuz. So then Donald Trump on Truth Social was like, okay, well, we're going to put up a blockade. And so the US did that and bombed a couple ships. And then Iran was like,
Wait, we bombed a couple ships?
Yeah, we took out a couple cargo ships of Iran.
Oh, God.
And then, so then Iran was like, we'll open the strait. And so they did, but it was only open for like 24 hours because then Donald Trump said something else smart. And it's just like, it's open, closed, open, closed, open, closed. And now I believe if we tap forward, there's a screenshot of like today's update. Let me make it big. I'll read this to you, y'all. So this literally today, okay, Wednesday, April 22nd. Iran renewed its attacks on commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz Wednesday, while calling the U.S. military's blockade of Iranian ports a breach of the ongoing ceasefire. President Trump said on Tuesday he was extending the ceasefire with Iran indefinitely, backing off a threat to resume attacks if the regime didn't accept his terms for a wider peace deal by today. Meanwhile, the US is sending thousands more forces into the region, and oil prices have jumped again, with a deal to end the Iran war looking far from imminent. Yeah, basically, Trump is like, I would have ended all those long wars, much quicker than they ended. And I've only been in this one for 3 months. And so it's fine. And look at what we did to Venezuela. And we're all kind of like, but like, gas is expensive, my dude. Like, and you were the guy that ran on no forever wars. And now essentially we're in a forever war. And the deal that they're trying to get passed is the deal that is basically the same as the deal that Donald Trump tore apart when he was president the first time, that Obama and folks had worked out with the Iranians after a couple of years. It's called the JCPOA for those of you that know the lingo. Okay, and anyway, basically just to like run it back really quick, like why are we over there? To control the oil, but also to tell brown people that they can't have nukes, and because Israel wants to take over part of Lebanon. But like that's your update on Iran. And not to laugh, but also to laugh because it is comical how often the strait is open versus closed versus open versus closed. And no one's talking to
Also,
them.
I'm also seeing IranMilitary.news. Their account was suspended over on X for breaking the X rules. They came right over to Threads and said, "You can't silence us."
Yeah. Yeah. And the added thing is like, they talked about this on Pod Save the People, not Pod Save the People. Pod Save the People is on a break, y'all. Pod Save the World. Although I will say here that Undistracted with Brittany Packnett, which is one of my favorite podcasts of all time. I don't love Brittany Packnett. Okay. Anyway, that podcast is back, but Pod Save the People is taking a break. DeRay finally was like, I've been doing this for 7 years. I'm a peace out. Which is fine because he a little too moderate for me, if I'm gonna be honest. But anyway, I was listening to Pod Save the World, and they were talking about the propaganda, like the U.S. propaganda versus the U.S. Israeli propaganda versus the Iranian propaganda, and basically saying that like the U.S. propaganda is just snuff videos, and the Iranian propaganda is stuff that's appealing widely to like young folks and online folks, and like how useful it has been in swaying thoughts even in the US. So, yeah.
I like it that we are in a world, unless they completely crash the grid, and they can't crash the grid because those of us who are solopreneurs, business owners, those people who work remote to make the money for these larger corporations, them bricking the internet for everybody is going to cause money to not flow for them. We're there. We don't have blackouts. We don't have internet blackouts in this country because, like, Square is getting a percentage of my sales. PayPal is getting a percentage of my sales. PayHip is getting a percentage of my
Well,
sales.
and the IRS ain't going to get no money if you don't have the
I promise you,
internet
if
on.
people who can't use the internet are not going to file shit either
Mm-mm.
when the time comes. So, yeah, the internet's open, and there's spaces on Telegram, and there's always a place of refuge you can run to on the internet and build community. That's something that we do professionally here with Love City Arts Group. And so just know that I'm proud of the Iranian Iranian military, and any of the other people that just want to be free from oppressive regimes. Speaking of which, I want to talk about the internet.
The internet.
Perfect segue. I know some of you won't even hear this because you've already been run away. You've already been ran off the playground. There are people who made it very, very clear with the Kev on stage stuff that's going on with him being a Christian standing up for LGBTQIA people. That's like the biggest thing that was trending at the top of the week. And there are people saying, well, I don't really pay attention to this because I'm raising my family and I'm getting paid. I'm making my money. I don't have time for the internet. I know a lot of you see the internet as a stressful place and a place of harm. I'm winning. I'm winning on the internet. I said that this morning to someone. They were like, is anybody making money or are good things happening on
They
Threads?
said like, yeah, they were like, has Threads helped your business? I responded too.
And I said, I have benefited.
Yeah.
You don't get to dance with people at the party. If high school never ends, you don't get to dance at the prom if you're not on the dance floor. And a lot of people, 1 in 6 adults, are dealing with incredible isolation and the effects of incredible isolation in the society. The reason why you're isolated is because you're self-isolating yourself when there's 490 million people on Threads and many other platforms beyond that are choosing to connect with other humans. Do not pinch yourself off from connection and then complain that you're alone. You are fulfilling your own prophecies by not being interconnected and interdependent using the internet. You are the solution to someone's problem. Someone's looking for your story. A lot of the lone wolves are looking to link up. Tara is a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. We found camaraderie and compassion and connection and community. Oh, okay. Pregnant lady squat. We have found interdependence in this community, and some of y'all say it in a very encouraging way and a happy way, but then some of you say it with a tinge of envy and jealousy. You're like, well, wouldn't we all be so lucky to have a Tara in our lives? Ooh, wouldn't we all be so lucky to have a Flo in our lives? I'm like, yo, everybody can have a Tara and a Flo in their lives. They can either they can even have a Tara and a Flo in their lives if they come to Clubhouse or come to TikTok or come to the this is special, but it ain't nothing special. And it defies the odds of the illogical fallacy, or the logical fallacy, I guess I should say, that you all hold about what relationships can be. Tara and I have been beneficiaries and benefactors of each other's magic for the last 5+ years, over hundreds of miles, and we've never stood physically in the same room together. There's one time I almost got to Minnesota and then my life went to smithereens. I still have a desire to go to Minnesota to actually hug Tara, my glorified internet friend pen pal from miles and miles away. You all don't believe that building mile deep, inch wide relationships with stranger humans are possible, and that's why you don't have it. But Tara and I, you would think, and a lot of people come around, they're like, oh, she's a bully. She's your lynch woman. She's your what do you call it? My minion or whatever. Number one, the lady can't be controlled. She does what she wants to do in her freedom and in her power, which I love. She's taught me about being in
I'm
power.
literally cleaning a floor while on a podcast. Like,
we
control.
didn't even think that was possible though when we were controlling ourselves many years ago. That was wild to us. And now, oh, someone was here. Sorry, it's Action. It's Action 386. Hey, you're loved and lovable if you're still here. I just looked over and saw the chat. Yeah, I didn't put the chat up today. Yeah, let us know where you're watching from.
Hey.
Yeah. So hey, so yeah, some of you, we talked about it this morning about some of you don't believe in infinite possibility. Some of you don't believe. My husband my first husband in a Whole Foods and then cultivated the relationship on the internet through very kinky FaceTimes. That's how we built that brick by brick. And then this husband I met on Clubhouse on a random Friday night. I don't know what night it was of the met Tara on the internet, but everyone's a stranger until they're not. Everyone is just a random human on the planet until they're not. And once again, Tara and I have never sat in the same room. Oh my goodness, it's so good to see you. Cannot wait to have you on are you coming on the podcast sometime soon by yourself or with us? I would love to have you on the pod. Shout out to Oakland, California. We love you so much, Stream Connoisseur. My cousin Shay Shay. And yeah, we all need a cousin Shay Shay with big dreams and big visions.
Big dreams.
Big dreams. And I'm gonna do them all. Going to do them all. So yeah, just know that the world, the universe is expanding, but our proximity to each other is also shrinking. And Tara's one of the best collaborators. I love I Can energy. Some of the best people that I've met on the planet, including my husband and Tara, were people who were miles, hundreds of miles from me. And we just chose to be honest, open, willing, and available enough to make it work. And make it work we have. What say you about the power of the internet, and why do you keep coming back to it, Tara, as a means for connecting with people?
Yeah, when you started this segment, I was thinking of the song that you used to sing, the I Can Stop Running, right? And I was thinking about how so many people ran from cable news, right, to social media, or ran away from IRL, or ran away, ran from Instagram to TikTok, or TikTok to Threads, or like whatever. And I just I think that we can all stop running from each other. And we have to really commit to that and stop looking for the gotcha moment and stop looking at the worst in people. And, I talked about this yesterday in a mastermind that I was in, which is like, we're all raised to be angry. And what makes it revolutionary to be on the internet and not is to be on the internet and not be angry, to be on the internet and connect through your joy. And I think that there's just so much I think people are so scared that connection could happen. I mean, you were just talking to somebody on TikTok that was like, I want a husband, but clearly the reason that they don't have a husband is because they've been scared of the actual connection. They've been scared to make the connection. They've been scared to allow the connection. And how often do we hear that about romantic relationships? And it's the same on the internet. It's the same with platonic relationships. It's the same as your relationship with the apps. It's the same conversation as AI. Like, it doesn't have to be this big bad thing. It can actually be a pleasurable place if only you let it. And I think my relationship to social media has ebbed and flowed over the years of I hate this. I don't want to be here. I don't, whatever. But why do I keep coming back? And I've said this week after week after week when it comes up is there's an opportunity for connection. There's an opportunity to meet new people, opportunity to meet people that you would never meet. And I think for me, being in a very niche field, who has niched herself even more, right? Not only am I a classical singer, but I'm a classical singer focused on repertoire that is not commonly heard. I am biracial and I am singing Black music. That is a hell of a small group of people that are willing to do those things and or engage with that content, right? So the internet allows me to reach and potentially talk to a much larger audience, a much larger space of connection. Because at the end of the day, like everything that y'all are talking about in your affinity spaces, everything that I'm talking about in my affinity spaces, everything that I'm talking about in mastermind spaces and in TikTok spaces is a universal concept. And I think when we remember that, then the internet becomes this place of connection instead of a place of hate. Yeah. So that's, I guess, what I would say to that question.
I love it here. I think that we're living the ancestors' dream. I mean, the fact, and you're gonna be hearing more from Stream Connoisseur. She said I can today, which we love. Like I said, the I can spirit. You can do a lot with the I can energy. But the fact that I can throw whole videos and audio of myself from Savannah, Georgia to Oakland, California in minutes and have it be part of the amazing platform that she's building for the distribution of ideas and the upliftment of the culture, our ancestors would have been like, what? It takes me weeks or months to get on horseback and to go a few states away. I don't even know. Ziggy, how long would it take on horseback to go from coast to coast in America?
Riding across America on horseback would take about 70 to 80 days. That's quite an adventure, covering around 50 miles a day with some extra time for tough terrain and unexpected challenges.
Thank you, Ziggy. 70 to 80 days.
If you ever decide to saddle up for that epic journey.
You wish me well if I ever decide. You hear that? If I ever decide to saddle up.
Ziggy is crazy. Anyway.
All right, let's move forward in the interest of time. Oh, wow. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. So if we get blocked, this is why. But we can click off this slide. I was gonna, use the internet lingo about it, but I think that, and I use the word unalive too, but like, I think that sometimes we're doing disservices to understand the gravity of the things that we're talking about when we're using words like grape and SA and unalive instead of, rape, sexual assault, and murder. Like these are like, I think that it's unfortunate that these apps have scared us into not being able to say those things, because I do think it's also a detriment to connection. Like you were talking about the other day, like if you can't command the English language, we can't connect, and I think that
if I cannot talk about suicide awareness when 1 in 6 adults are so lonely that they want to suicide, then how do I even heal the unspoken?
Right.
And I'm only talking about that now because I shut down the TikTok to scroll as we produce. It's crazy.
Right. And so I was going to put Grape Academy, but then I was like, nope, just bring the full word because it's necessary. So this article is actually from the end of March, and it's from CNN, and it was a article exposing a global online rape academy. And this kind of cuts off, but that is teaching, it's essentially teaching men how to drug and rape women, primarily their wives and their partners that are living with them, and then taking videos of those rapes and putting them in this academy, essentially. And there were 62 million views on that site in February, and there were 81 million views on that site in March. And that doesn't mean that 81 million, huh?
Disgusting.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, because right now the internet discourse has like filtered into Oh, well, it wasn't actually 62 million like individual views. It was just that like 62 million hits on the website. So it could have been one person, a million times or whatever. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, and when we say like it is all men, it is all men. Like it's all men, because not enough men are stopping or talking about this stuff in their lives to how like for the men in their lives that would do this to stop doing it, right? And once again, we talked about this last week, but like people are looking for belonging, and while this is disgusting, and while it is not right, and while I wish it didn't exist, I think we have to also acknowledge that like these men are looking for belonging that they're not finding anywhere else, and so they resort to situations like this. And that's really sad and it's really gross, but it's also a question of how do we as a society reconcile this and get these men into a situation where they're not going to do these things, like build this website, right? And so like I said, this article is from the end of March, but for whatever reason it's been going crazy on the internet at the end of April here. And yeah, that's just, I mean, we've been talking for months about the 70,000 person chat. And I just like, I saw a video this morning about it on my TikTok, and I don't remember the handle of the person, but he was saying, he was like, what really changed it for me was the fact that there wasn't a single woman in his personal life that had not been assaulted or raped. And I think when you start to realize that rape and sexual assault are the norm instead of the exception, then we start to want to have the conversation of how to fix it, right? When we realize that these things are not like, it's similar to infertility for me. Like infertility affects 1 in 6 couples. Like every single one of you knows someone that has dealt with infertility. And every single one of you knows someone who has been sexually assaulted or raped, whether that's a man, woman, a non-binary person, trans, whatever. Every single one of us knows someone that this has happened to. And if we stop pretending that it's rare, then maybe we'll finally have conversations about these things so they do not exist in the dark and continue to happen. Because this is literally mass rape. Like what is happening on that website is mass rape of women. So that's my spiel.
And a form of global and domestic terrorism.
Right.
Because the goal of rape culture and the act itself is to dominate and to control another person's body.
Right. And these women, like, because they're drugged, often don't know that it's happening. Right. Like they wake up and don't think anything has happened. And there's one of the women in the story that like, I can't remember how many years it was, but it was years that her husband was doing this to her and taking videos of her and putting it online and like perfecting the drugs that he was giving her. Like really horrible shit. And yeah,
is it too far for me to say, and this may be like a stretch, and y'all can send me, you can definitely slip into the message request on Instagram. Would love to hear your thoughts that are respectful. This is why I really believe in empowering people and giving people an empowered place, because do you think a man who truly feels empowered would do this to another person?
No, and that's also what I talk about a lot too, about like dreaming of a world beyond, because the reality is, like, once again, the reality is that not enough people feel like they belong, right? Not like there's a lot of people that feel lonely. And I was listening to a podcast this morning, I don't remember which one it was, but one of the guests was basically saying like, you know, we gotta come to terms with the fact that like loneliness doesn't just affect one group. Like we talk a lot about male loneliness as an exception, but actually every group of people is lonely, right? Like there is a loneliness that exists there. And
And
you know,
we all feel lonely sometimes. One
right.
in 6 have chronic loneliness that drives them into depression, anxiety, panic, and paranoia. But all of us, 100% of all of us, feel lonely from time to time.
Right. And also, I think, and I've talked about this on this podcast before, and I feel like I talk about it relatively frequently, like in my personal life. And I can, of course, there's an invitation for me to be more public about this, but like my true belief is that all of these crimes, all of these grabs at power, are an attempt to solve loneliness and to feel belonging, but B, they are the symptom, and they would not be symptoms if we simply solved the problems, right? And we have this refusal to address the actual problem, right? Because the symptom is policing. The symptom is Donald Trump. The symptom is a rape academy. But the problem is capitalism, white supremacy, and colonialism, right? And until we really like get that through our thick skulls, we are going to sit in spaces and continue to say, well, let's just reform the Republican Party. Let's just reform policing. Let's just reform the way that we treat boys. Right? Let's just and then by extension, let's just reform the way that mothers mother their boys. Because at the end of the day, y'all really want it to be a woman's fault that this boy grew into a man and raped somebody. We got to talk about that too, because that's strange. That's strange. It is not a woman's fault that a man chooses to do what he does. It is not a woman's fault that another woman chooses to do what she does. We choose on our own to do those things. Right? But the continuous want to reform and or like, oh, we'll just take down this website, this online rape academy. Another one's going to pop up because it is a symptom of the problem. Right? Which is the same thing. Like it's why mass shootings are still in existence in the United States. Because sure, we can reform the education system. Sure, we can reform the way we treat bullies. Sure, we can put tougher gun laws out there. However, none of those things address the actual problem, which is that y'all don't care about kids. And you don't care about kids because of what white supremacy, colonialism, and capitalism tell you. And because you think kids are a commodity and kids are to be owned, because kids are a slave class, don't get it twisted. We will continue to have mass shootings until we have a conversation about the freaking problem instead of the symptom. That's it. That's it. So 62 million views and 81 million views are going to continue to happen, whether on this website or a different website, until we decide to eliminate poverty, until we decide to eliminate the symptoms and eliminate the problems instead of reforming them, and instead of trying to make some world of joy work on top of a world of pain and harm and surviving. Like, excuse me, that was a rant. And now we got to move.
Yeah, now that I'm talking about this, we might as well start talking about the private pain as an extension of what you're talking about. The private pain that allows for a Shreveport, Louisiana to happen. A lot of you have seen the news earlier in the week of the man who unalived 8 children and harmed his family because of some type of private pain. 7 of the kids were his, and 1 was from his brother-in-law and his sisters. 2 people had to jump out the window to keep from being harmed. And this is an extension of the things that we don't talk about out loud because we're afraid. And I think that we need to address these things head on. We have a mental health crisis in the country. We don't have enough community support. People believe that they are too busy to heal. And of all the things that I am too busy to deal with, healing is not something that I am too busy to do. Connecting to my freedom, connecting to my joy, taking the time to align with my therapeutic partners and my therapist, and using free apps like the free CBT app. I can't talk about this enough. I need to put it on the website, but free CBT is a digital resource that you can use in order to get yourself out of the cognitive distortions that may be pulling you down. What if someone had had continual conversations with this gentleman who they say was mentally ill in Shreveport? But what if he had had conversations in his community about the distortions, what he was feeling and what he was witnessing in his life may not have been a piece of real?
Okay, so I'll be quick about this because we're not going to go to the video, but I will read a couple of the comments. So, professional accounts and online responses. First of all, I think that a lot of this discourse, y'all really don't want people to be people. And y'all really want people to be their job. And that is you are raised in that. And I just don't think it's I don't think that is the right direction to go. So on my timeline is not the Kevin on stage stuff or Kev on stage. It is Therapy Jeff. And I'm sure some of you that have been in the private chats with us know we've shared Therapy Jeff before. He has some interesting takes, and some takes I don't agree with at all. But anyway, there was a Threads post not long ago that was asking for men's favorite and people with penises hand job. Like what is the strategy, and there were a couple of very big professional accounts that answered, like Babatunde, and Therapy Jeff was also one who described in pretty explicit detail how he would like to be pleasured with your hands. And I didn't so much mind because the person asked the question and somebody just responded, and I'm like, what's the problem with that? Then Therapy Jeff responded on Threads, or seemingly responded. It's not really like he didn't like put a hashtag in it at all, but he was like, where is the hotline for men who think they're going to commit sexual assault, essentially? And people construed that, I think, as being like in defense of these men. But I'm on the side of like, once again, these men need a different place to belong. Like, and if we're going to ostracize them, they will continue to do these things. Because, and once again,
can I just interject? Can I just also interject here to say, and we often don't rehabilitate the child molester or the person who sexually assaults until after the crime is committed, because we live in a society that's very responsive and reactive as opposed to proactive. So I do understand.
right? It's we live in a society of punishment. We
Oh,
would
for
rather
sure.
someone commit the crime so that we can punish them for the crime, right?
Well, because like, we're in Deconstruction Junction because it's more lucrative
Right.
in a system that has commercial jails
Right.
and a prison pipeline. It actually people get rich, including Oprah.
Right. And once
Oprah,
again, addressing the symptom instead of the problem, right? Because we wouldn't have capitalist jails if we didn't live in capitalism, right? And so anyway, what there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of people making videos. There were a lot of threads saying like, Therapy Jeff, I'm so disappointed in you. Therapy Jeff, this is disgusting. Therapy Jeff, like you shouldn't have said this, da 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 da. And so this screenshot is from Therapy Jeff's Instagram video where he apologizes and says, moving forward, I will continue reading the actual perpetration research instead of relying on clinical intuition. I'm going to be more careful about which questions I hand to a big audience and which questions I take to a consult group or a colleague first. And when I make content that affects survivors, I'm centering them. You can expect more care, more pause before posting, and a stronger commitment to staying within my scope of experience. And I just want to read
expertise. And the reason why I'm correcting you on that word is not because I'm trying to be like that type of teacher.
Oh, yes, it does say expertise.
Because as a community non-clinical mental health counselor and guide, I guarantee you someone went to his board.
Right. And so I just wanted to read like the first comment that comes up for me under this Instagram post is, sir, on Sunday morning, I logged into Threads and the first post was of you describing in detail how you liked receiving handjobs. I felt violated, like a man had flashed me. I had the ick all day of yet again a man non-consensually foisting his sexuality onto me and everyone when I/we did not want or agree to that. You and several male coaches and therapists seem to have wished you'd chosen Dan Savage's career, and I get that because he gets to be his full self. But you chose to become a licensed therapist, and that's a whole other life, where one of the core principles is you can embody your authenticity, but you have to have fierce boundaries between your personal and professional selves. Someone who is great at this, I think, is Nadra Tawab. I don't know who that is. I get this is your first take at amends and it's only been 2 days, but there's a lot more you need to explore, reparent, integrate, and repair because you gave hella red flags over the last week. Once again, are we people or are we our professions? And I have this conversation with musicians all the time because y'all are confused. A lot of y'all think you are, like you literally are music. And that is all you are. You are a person. An athlete is a person. Simone Biles is a human. And she's a gymnast. Right? Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback and he's a nasty ass human. Right? Donald Trump is a failed businessman and he's a human. Right? Obama was the president of the United States and he's a human. And I really don't like, and I think you all have seen it over the past like 6 weeks, especially, like, I do not like the policing of anyone's language or the policing of the way that anyone is expressing themselves. Because at the end of the day, if we are once again, if we are excluding people based on their behaviors and based on their text online in a very unserious space, because y'all got to believe, like y'all that are treating Threads like it's a clinical book, come on, you know?
Or furthermore, those of you who have made complaining your whole fucking personality,
Right?
Like, that doesn't like. And I gotta say this into the big mic. Those of you who have made complaining your whole existence and your whole personality, it's the most unoriginal thing you can do. And that's how you get lost in the crowd and why nobody finds you to be remarkable. Mediocrity is commonplace and complaining is commonplace. I don't even want to meet the person who just did that post. I'm not going to follow them. I'm not going to be close to them. I don't want to be in a relationship with anybody like that, because there's nothing restorative about it. There's nothing redeeming about it. It's just, let me complain to you because I don't feel in my wholeness. I chose to go onto an open platform, and then I sentence myself to thinking about your nether regions all day. It reminds me of the born again people and the Christians.
Right. Like you made me look at your shoulder. Sounds like you looked at my shoulder.
Your kneecaps are tempting me.
Yeah. And this similar thing is happening to Michaela Noguera online, who people really love to hate on. Like they're like, oh, she shouldn't be doing that. She just got a divorce. Da 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 da. She just da da da. She shouldn't be dating. She shouldn't be doing this. Like y'all got a lot of opinions about what people should or shouldn't be doing, while also not contributing to a way in which they can exist differently. Right. And so, yeah, I just wanted to bring it because I, of late, have really struggled with how we like selectively hold professionals accountable, right? And like in the same way that those two Congress people, Tony and Eric, had to step down, but y'all won't impeach Donald Trump. It's very selective, isn't it?
Very selective, which is why I have requirements for interacting with people. I think there's a slide in here, a perfect segue to talking about intentional living. Part of my intentional living is that you don't got to prove shit to me, but you must demonstrate that you are honest, open, willing, and available to build something in this life in order to work with me and my team. If you do not display the ability to be honest, open, willing, available, and that you are trying to construct something as opposed to tearing down people and what they're building, reminds me of the black woman or signed black at birth woman over on Threads earlier in the week who told another young black creator that she shouldn't be referring to herself as the black Miss Rachel because it centers whiteness. But then she was sitting on top of 64,000 followers herself and never reposted the young lady. You mean you came under this young lady's post who is growing on YouTube as a black children's educator, and instead of promoting her to your fractal and to your network, you chose to tell her how she was wrong? You're not eligible. I can tell that whatever that lady's building, and we've met some people. Oh, Tara, have we not met people who were followed by thousands of people and still didn't have anything to say? We're not trying to build up the collective. We're not trying to encourage, equip, and empower people. They just wanted the numbers to look like somebody, the vanity metrics of living. I am moving towards intentional living. I do not want to live by default. I don't want to live without meaning. I want to live on purpose. I want to grow on purpose. I want to have purpose-driven conversations. It feels better to me. That's how I create the conditions of ceasefire in my life. That's how I run Adopt a Black Artist program, Creative Access Partner program, daily peer support on TikTok, Instagram, Clubhouse, and beyond. That's how I feel the admin and support services here within Love and Action Network and Love City Arts Group. You can check out our new websites at lovedandlovable.org, askdrflow.com, and lovecityarts.net. And yes, we're always hiring and recruiting the best of the best who are honest, open, willing, and available to build. It'll look something like this. My weekly vision board. Love that jacket. Hasn't been made yet, but it does exist. Tara, what you got going on in the world?
Coat of many colors. All right. I've got the Liberated Voice Practice. There's 4 tiers to that: membership, community, async, and hybrid, and private lessons. You can check more of that out on my Instagram. I will be posting more, and I know I need to create a website page on that, which I will. I've also, we are 7 days away from the end of the drive, and yes, my coach from Unfuckwithable, his name is Dr. Flo. You all may have met him, is rolling his eyes because he's like, where's the content, girl? Anyway, there's a drive right now to go listen to the album and or donate to the album. I'm trying to get 500 listens and $1,000.
Sorry, am I off mute?
Yeah, you are. I'm just talking over you. You can do so at tarapriolo.bandcamp.com if you'd like to participate in that. And then I also have the I Dream a World. He said, shut up. I also have the I Dream a World archive project where I am collecting perspectives on the world beyond. And that gets posted to my Instagram and my threads, where you all are most welcome to share. That will grow as I have time to grow it, and stay on the lookout for some of the other things. You can join my Substack. I will also be putting out a but also this week. And all of those links are primarily at tarapriolo.com/links. Okay, I'm done.
We are always grateful for your time, talent, and treasure here within the network. I said it this morning online and in the rooms, and I believe it. There are very few people who do community support at the same level that we do. We've been showing up for the last 100, and I think we're celebrating this week 128 weeks of sharing our magic with the world in this particular iteration. Cannot wait for you to hear it back on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all of the places where we serve the world. And hope that you enjoyed the unpacking of our thoughts as you continue to live your dreams. On behalf of everybody here in Love in Action Network and those seekers and builders and growers and showers around the world, we invite you to stay in your power, stay in your joy, stay loved and lovable. And we'll see you very, very soon around our fantastic and fabulous network. Have a great day, everybody.